right, speaking of school, and maybe the most historic school ever for college football, I think we can throw them into the
Rutgers?
equation. How about
Birthplace of football,
the
Rutgers?
Ohio State University getting a big win at Happy Valley on Saturday? I got to watch it. It was really awesome how it kind of boiled down to the end, and the Buckeyes defense ends up holding serve 20-13. They knock off those Nittany Lions in a huge top 5 battle. Mr. Lucas Wickiser writes for us on the Clee Bus. He is joining us on the line right now. Yeah, baby. Got the Buck fever going right now. I see you got the hat. You got on the necklace. I mean, we got a lot of momentum.
Yep, absolutely, Brian. I got 2 words for you. Buckeye swag.
Woohoo! Yeah.
So
I dig it, man, and I like the grittiness that Ohio State had to play with to get the win. They overcome that early 10-point deficit to be victorious, Luke. So I like that in my football team. I don't always want to run out and run up the score, maybe win by 45. Going on the road, hostile environment, and they had to get gritty with it. So I think that this actually, after that pick 6 and the way that they were able to respond, I think this is a bigger, better win than if we went out there and just everything kind of fell in our lap and the dominoes fell in place.
yeah, I think I'd agree with you there. I mean, who doesn't want to blow an opponent out like Penn State by like 45, or what it should have been? It probably should have been like 28-3 at the end of the first half if Howard hadn't struggled a little bit. But maybe like you said, we need a win like this. It was ugly, it was gritty, it was nasty. It was Big Ten football in late October going into November. So, and it's always tough playing at Penn State. So maybe we needed a win like that, especially coming down the stretch, because I don't want our guys thinking they own everything. They get soft, get complacent, and then they get smacked in the mouth by Indiana or Michigan. So, yeah, this was a tough, gritty win for Ohio State. I was proud of the Buckeyes this last week.
And I think Will Howard, specifically a Pennsylvania kid, all amped up for the game. And guess what? His very first pass, right here, went the other way. Bad news right out the gates. He then fumbles going into the end zone later in the game, but I really thought his 180-plus yards, the couple of touchdowns that he had to gut it out too, and I was impressed with what we saw from him against a quality Nittany Lions defense. I mean, they got a couple of first-round picks out there on the defensive front, so I liked what we saw from Will Howard, having to overcome some adversity.
Yeah, I do too. I like it. Even though he's a senior, he's been through this rodeo before. This isn't his first time out doing these kind of things. It was kind of nice to see him kind of have to tough it out. Looking back, I'm glad we finished it. I'm glad we won. But I also kind of a little bit of a funny thing I saw on Facebook the other day. I think the reporters right after we beat Penn State asked Will Howard on that final drive where they basically salted it away with running for the first down. And the reporter asked Will Howard, what'd you say to the guys in the huddle before that final play to get the first down and seal the game? He goes, let's go win this game. And Coach Day goes, well, that's a G-rated version. I can't say the actual version on TV.
Yeah, you got to keep it PG for us, Luke, here. This is a family network, too, so we appreciate that.
Yep.
The Buckeyes now, dude, how about 10-1 against James Franklin? So there's a lot of talk about Ohio State and Ryan Day. He can't win the big game, and this is just, I believe, his second win against a top 5 opponent. So what do you think this did for Ryan Day's standing for Ohio State fans, and just give him a little bit more love and credit that I feel like he deserves?
Yeah, I think he deserves a little more credit. I don't know if it'll change his narrative just yet. I mean, it definitely helped him because he was definitely becoming John Cooper 2.0 there for a little bit, and he still is. He's still in danger of that. But it definitely helped him, but I don't think his narrative is going to change until or unless he wins the whole thing. I mean, you got talent everywhere. You got talent leaking out their ears. He's got the keys to the Ferrari, and so far he's been driving it pretty well. It was a great win for him. I give him all the credit in the world. He coached aggressively. In a game like this, you coach to win. You don't coach not to lose. And so he coached well, but I don't think his narrative is going to change unless we win the whole thing or at least get there again and compete our butts off like we did against Georgia the last time we were that close. So he's still got some work to do, but I think he can.
What's up, Lucas? So what is your make of your take of the controversy with Penn State wanting that to be a night game so it could be a whiteout, but Fox robbed them and made it a big noon kickoff?
I don't really know if there's much controversy, or maybe I didn't really think there was much controversy. I personally thought it should have been a night game. I would have loved it, Like you have things like with Ohio State, Penn State. I think in the past the Buckeyes have had night games in Columbus against Penn State. There's been times we've played night games over there in Happy Valley. those are just two of the just toughest environments for a road team to play in. And yeah, of course you want your team to win on the road, but it's like if you're going to go win a game like that, quite literally go through the Lions' Den. Walk out of the Lions' Den late at night with a big win. It would have been huge going into the next morning, but I'll take a win any way I can get it. But yeah, I would have loved the night game. I didn't like
I just think the whole TV deals and how everything's kind of get thrown into just random slots throughout the day, just so there's a game going on during every sort of time frame. That's kind of taken away from some of these games. So this is a game that you usually see at night in a whiteout.
Right.
So definitely change the dynamic of everything.
I don't think I understand maybe the mercantile shops or the dynamic there. Can I not wear white shirts during the day, or what changed?
There's just something different about a night game, and all you're seeing is just a sea of white. I don't know.
Yeah.
I couldn't really.
Right. Yeah. Well, and I know it's not the same thing with Ohio State, but I know there's been times in the shoe when I've really liked it when Ohio State has done a blackout. Yeah, I mean, it just looks freaky. I love it when Ohio State's in the shoe at night doing a blackout in games like this. But yeah, I mean, everyone's got to have money these days for TV deals. Everyone's like, it's ESPN Plus, NFL Plus. It's like, come on, stop with the money deals. I'm not a fan of it either. It ruins the sport.
We know why. They can't tailgate for 15 hours and then be crazy at night. They can They have to get up. They have to get up early, which they won't do. So they'll get up at like maybe 7, 8 o'clock. They'll tailgate for 3 hours and go into the game instead of, hey, it's a night game. Let's get up at 12. Let's day drink or get our waters or whatever you could say. Family Network. I heard you say that earlier.
Fox is looking out for the Penn State fans. That's what
Fox is not looking out for the Penn State fans because the Penn State fans are mad they didn't get the tailgate. That's what it's about.
Yep. So,
well, we'll take the win. Big one, of course, for the Big Ten championship.
Thank you for
and
not
for the
letting
college
that Penn
football
State
playoff.
fan base go crazy now.
Travis is very grateful for the
Yes.
Buckeyes and what they did. Luke, a bit of a different story, I'm told, for the Browns yesterday. Now, I was working. I was doing a regional championship soccer match, so I didn't get to see anything until the last 10 minutes. So you're going to have to break this down for me. I've seen no highlights. I don't necessarily know what happened. I didn't have to endure the struggle. What went down yesterday at home?
Oh, yeah, to be quite honest with you, Brian, I probably watched maybe the first half or so, and by that point it was already in the bag. I hate saying that about the Browns, and I love my team even though they're struggling. But, when they had the huge sack by, I think, Zadarius and Myles Garrett and the others, they ganged up and got the first sack, and then it was like a 3rd and 21. The defense was ready to get off the field on that first drive, set the tone. And then the very next freaking play, there was a busted coverage somewhere, defensive breakdown, and that led to the first touchdown. And this happened not only once, but twice. And then later on in the game, when I had already tuned out and worked on some stuff later for the day, I'd heard Winston threw 3 interceptions. The offense had nothing going. And then also when there was a chance to score before garbage time, when you could get yourself kind of back in the ball game, Ken Dorsey threw a pass on 2nd down. When you have your running back out there, I'm sorry, and I don't advocate for violence, but I think that deserves a cuff upside the head. It's like, why do you do that? You have the best running back in the league. He's back. He's healthy. Run the ball. I could say some other words, but run the ball, for crying out loud, Dorsey.
I've heard Brian say those words a
Run
lot
the ball,
of times.
Kevin. 15 carries, though, for Chubb, only 39 yards and a long of 11. I see Jameis Winston sacked 6 times, and those 3 picks to go along with it. Offensive line issues, is that still the biggest problem going down in Cleveland, is that we just cannot open holes and protect our dudes in the backfield?
I think it's definitely one of them, and I don't want to blame one person, but and I don't know who the best offensive line coach that you could get if you hired someone else in the offseason would be. But Andy Dickerson, I think this is his first time as an offensive line coach. I think he's been an offensive assistant, like a quality control guy, but maybe he's in way over his head. And I know we've already mentioned this once this year, and we'll do it again. I'll do it again, but man, oh man, do we miss Bill Callahan. I mean, that guy oh my God, that guy was a genius. I mean, he was almost, and I don't want to slam Bill for this. It's not a slam. It's actually a compliment. He was so anal about the smallest details with like foot placement, hand placement, kind of how you get your leverage and how you control your opponent. That's kind of like Joe Thomas was too. I'd love to see him be the Browns O-line coach. Can't do much worse. But no, I think Andy Dickerson, the Browns O-line coach, is in way over his head. I don't know what's going on. I think maybe it is just offensive line issues, because we used to have conspiracy theories about how maybe the big guys up front didn't like Watson, and I don't know if they do or not, but you're still struggling even with a new quarterback out there. So, yeah, I'd go offensive line as being the number one weakness right now. And then the secondary is just horrible. And that just makes me sad, kind of angry too, because Newsome and Ward were supposed to be these two dogs out there, and they're getting torched. So, but yeah, we'll see what happens the rest of the year. But I'm worried about the Browns being in massive fire sale mode, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, looking at the rest of the year, a bye week this week, so can't lose on Sunday. So there'll be some smiles, certainly.
Well, unless they trade tomorrow's the trade deadline.
Oh yeah.
I hope they don't get rid of some of our top dudes. The fact that they were even putting Myles Garrett's name into some of the headlines really just makes my skin crawl. I don't like the sound of that.
You know, he'd look really good in the black and gold on the other side of TJ Watt, wouldn't you think?
Ooh, baby.
That would happen. I could not see that happen.
But no, I actually, I don't want this to happen either. I don't want them to trade, Miles or Chubb or anybody. But if we're being quite honest, I mean, those guys, if they wanted to go get a ring, I mean, I wouldn't blame them for wanting out of Cleveland. Miles, I've heard Miles going to Detroit would be an interesting one. And I wouldn't blame him at all. But we'll see what happens. But it would not surprise me if a few guys left after the trade deadline.
I don't remember where I was when we talked about this. It wasn't us. I was in a hospitality room at one of the tournament games, and there was a bunch of Browns fans chatting it up, talking about how they're falling apart. And one of them said, I think the first piece that goes is Denzel Ward. And I thought that would be really that was interesting. I don't know
Cleveland
about that.
born and bred, baby. Goes to Ohio State. That'd be a tough one to lose.
Yeah.
I think Nick Chubb, most beloved player on the team. Yep. Myles Garrett, number 2. Denzel Ward right there. If we just keep those 3 pieces, I think Browns fans will accept if we get rid of like a Zadarius Smith. I don't even know who else would be out on the chopping block for us, but those would be probably the top 4 guys that I think teams would want.
Yeah, now that you mentioned Denzel Ward possibly being on the trading block, I don't know if you guys remember this guy. I remember when the Browns, I think Sashi Brown was still there, but I don't know if you remember a guy named Dante Whitner. He was one of my favorite players when he was in Cleveland. With the Buckeyes, with Cleveland. He was just an enforcer. I love that dude. I loved him. He was such a hard hitter. Oh, man. And then I think our front office kind of, screwed him over or shafted him. He wanted to come back, and they traded him or didn't re-sign him. I'm like, what are you doing? He actually wanted to be here, and he was born in Cleveland, I think. I think he was born in Cleveland and went to Glenville, and they just treated one of their own like garbage. And so the Browns have not had a good history of treating their best players well, but we'll see what happens. It would break my heart if Chubb and Ward went, but I also wouldn't be surprised either.
You know who hasn't broken your heart? The Cary Blue Devils. What a win over Tenora, huh?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, absolutely. I was saying some words that I couldn't say on here during the game, but, sometimes those games are ugly. Sometimes you got to win a knockdown, drag-out fight, and credit to Nora for getting up for this one and playing a great game against us. But the Blue Devils did just enough to win. They were physical. They ran the ball down their throat, and I think they ran for 302 rushing yards.
So you're saying run the blank and ball, and they ran the blank and ball.
Just run the ball, Kevin.
Yes, they ran the blank and ball, Travis.
Patrick Henry coming up. What do you think about that matchup? 9-2.
I got to do my research there. I don't really know much about Patrick Henry, at least right now, as other than, they're kind of like Cary is. They're a small school power usually. They're in the running for, being the best team in their area or going for a state championship. So I will say, though, that the Patriots, if the Blue Devils make the same mistakes they made this last game, they will not make it to the next round. So they've really got to play cleaner. And I think they're definitely trying, and they're getting there. But they've got to play more discipline and just run the ball and play keep away. And I don't want to keep going back to this because it's a different team, but every time the Blue Devils control the time of possession, I always smile because I think of cold water. That offense was so powerful that year that they had no chance to do anything because they only had the ball for 13 minutes. So I don't think Cary can possess the ball that long against the Patriots, but if they have that same kind of game plan, I think that's their best shot to win. Possess the ball, run it down their throat, and don't make many mistakes.
When they get into the postseason, in Cary we trust. So we're anticipating they're going to have an upset on the road.
Cary,
we're going to move on to those regional semifinals, Luke. So enjoy that game and keep hanging in there, baby. I know it's a tough, weird spot for the Browns to be in at 2-7, where it's like, gosh, we want them to win, but at the same time, it probably doesn't benefit us much. But appreciate the articles, and at least we've got the Saturdays for the boys and the Buckeyes.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. And again, thanks for having me on. And also one more thing, shout out to Bodpen Miller. Congratulations to him for getting accepted to Ohio State. It seemed like a good young man, and we need character guys in Columbus. We need a bunch of the best guys we can get, not just athletes, but genuinely good men. And so congratulations to him, and good luck to him with Ontario the rest of the way.
I appreciate it. Lucas Wickiser of the Clee Bus, everybody. Thank you so much for joining the program.